This is The Spot, a BYU-Idaho radio production where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are me, Isabella Salazar,
Jesse Richens,
Brogan Houston,
and Nix Johnson.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university, and are solely the opinions of the hosts.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about family history. We're going to be starting off with some of our own personal stories, personal experiences that we have with both our own family history lines and also actually doing our family history, the paperwork, the app, the website, all that fun jazz. Talking about some of the struggles that we all may have experienced, be a little bit more relatable there. And then we'll be going on to some basic steps that anybody can take in order to start working on their family history, because it doesn't have to be as terrifying and overwhelming as it seems. So to start, do any of you guys have some interesting stories, either in your personal ancestry line? Have weird things happened in your family or while using family history?
Yeah, for my family, we found out that the person we thought was, I believe it was my grandfather's grandfather, actually isn't his grandfather, and so the whole family's last name is wrong. Like on that side of the family, their last name is Burke, but really it would have been Samson if they would have known. And they're like, "Oh, we're actually Jewish too." And so my grandfather, he made T-shirts for everyone with like the Star of David, and is like, "I'm proud to be a Samson."
Oh my God.
Man. We have one that's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
Where my grandmother did not know that her father wasn't her birth father, and that her birth father, who died when she was very, very little, and she found this out when she was like in her 70s, but we found it out because of family history, is actually from the Philippines, like 100%. And so we had no clue.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. You just lose your father, I guess.
I know, right? And then I guess weird things just happen in my family when people pass away. Discoveries come up. But my other grandmother, when she passed away, we actually found 6 full 3-inch binders just stuffed to the brim with all the paperwork for family history for both her side of the family that she was on, which was my mother's side. And then she also did work for my dad's side as well, which she has no personal blood relation to, besides, through her daughter, who then, she got a son-in-law. But it was just so cool to find all of that and to be like, whoa, she did a lot more work than we thought she did. Like, we knew that she was crazy into family history, but we had no clue that she had 6 full 3-inch binders just stuffed with information. It was really cool to find.
Wow, that's really cool. I have a story. It's about my grandpa. It's kind of more on like the spiritual side. So he had this brother. They looked literally exactly like they looked like twins. His brother passed away, and it's kind of crazy because funeral and the viewing, and for the people that didn't know my grandpa, they were kind of staring at him because he looks exactly like his brother,
like a ghost. They're just like
literally, like everyone was just like, okay,
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so he looks exactly like him. But when he passed away, his brother, they had grown up in the church and everything, and his brother became an elder, but he ended up marrying outside of the covenant, and then kind of fell away from the church, didn't get his ordinances done, didn't get endowed. So he went through and did that for him, with permission of the wife, of course. And anyway, while he was in the temple, there was a point while they were there, the person sitting next to my grandpa, he like stood up, and my grandpa was like, kind of like, "Oh, brother," like, and he looks over at this guy, and I guess I didn't mention this. He went in like with like a prayerful heart, like hoping to feel like confirmation that his brother was like accepting the ordinance that was being done. Anyway, so he looks up at this guy who's standing up, and he sees his brother. Like, he looks exactly like his brother, like the spitting image. And basically the whole time he's just staring at this guy. He's just like, "What are you doing? Like, you're literally my brother." And anyway, it comes to the point at the temple where he's with his wife and my grandma, and he's like, "That guy looks exactly like my brother." And she's like, "Jim, that looks nothing like him." Like, yeah, you're going crazy. But again, like the whole time he was just seeing his brother Don there, and that was his confirmation that he had accepted the ordinances. So
Yeah.
That's
a
really
cool story.
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That is the coolest thing. Yeah. My mom has had some cool experiences like that too, where like she would be doing initiatories, and during those she like has really felt like more than when doing baptisms, like she's felt the spirit of the person and like their whole personality. Like there was one time she was doing it for some relative of hers, and she could sense that the woman was very no nonsense, and she could like feel her back straighten, and it was just very like just a no nonsense woman who was like accepting the gospel, and it was just cool to feel the different personalities so strongly in the temple.
I think that's really cool too. I've had an experience similar to that, which I absolutely love taking family names to the temple because my grandparents immigrated over here from the Netherlands during World War II. So we have a lot of Dutch names, and taking those to the temple can be really interesting. And so something that I do to try to feel a connection to the person before I go is I learn how to pronounce their name correctly, which then also helps the temple workers too, because there's things like it's spelled Neeltje, but it's pronounced Niltje.
Oh wow.
At least something similar to that. Please don't judge. Doing my best. But with that name particularly, I went and did endowments for that person's name, and I happened to have a seat empty next to me, and I felt like there was a person just sitting there. She was so calm and just so pleased. I would say happy, but it wasn't like that energetic kind of happy. It was just more pleased of being like, yes, like we're here. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. So it was fun to find that in my family history and then be able to do that for.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was really cool. We also have with us Brogan, one of the hosts, and he has taken the Intro to the Family History class. And so you mentioned before we started that you have some information that helped you get over some struggles with that?
Yeah, definitely. So I've done a lot of family history especially over the last semester and a half or so, because I took the class last semester and I've been doing it this semester as well. I don't have as many cool stories as you guys do, but
That's okay.
I have been able to accomplish a lot more than I ever have before. And so this isn't like a plug for this class or anything like this, but I would definitely recommend it if you are looking to get started in family history. You don't really know where to start, whatever. And it's just a religion class, so it just counts as your 2 religion credits for the semester or whatever you need. Elective credits if you need them instead. But yeah, so my struggle always had been I'd go to these like Sunday school lessons or whatever, or word activities, that kind of thing, where they teach you how to do family history. But we never, ever, ever got further than making an account for everybody and maybe doing indexing. Like we never got past that. It was always just everybody kind of sits there with their computers open and talks, and that's our family history night. And so I always like heard all these conference talks and whatnot saying like, yeah, the gathering of Israel is the most important thing going on right now. Anytime you do anything on either side of the veil to help somebody towards exaltation, you're helping somebody along the covenant path. That's a good thing, etc. And I never knew where to start. Like I always knew like this is something I got to do. I just never knew where to start. And so I took this class in hopes that it would kind of get me started on the right path. And sure enough, that's exactly what it did. And one of the really helpful things that I didn't even realize you could do is I connected my family search account with my Ancestry.com account. And Ancestry.com isn't actually directly affiliated with the church. They just work together really closely. And so because it's more public, there's a lot of people that might be related to you that have been working on family history this whole time and have connected themselves to some of your relatives. And so I connected my Ancestry.com account, and immediately I just had, I don't even know how many names, probably 300 or 400 names like right there just that needed temple work done and whatnot. And so like that was just an instantaneous cool thing. Like just not that I really did anything, but it's just something that I didn't even know existed. And how are you ever going to know that exists if nobody tells you, right? And so,
for sure.
And just lots of cool things like that. So if you're looking to get started in family history and maybe you can't take this class or just don't know where to start there. Connect your Ancestry.com account to your family search account if you haven't already. The other thing that I was going to mention too is the tasks tab in the Family Search app. So that tab kind of just gives you a step-by-step process of what needs to be done. So people have been indexing this whole time, right? Like people just index as many names as they can. And what that does is it tells the computer the names of the people that are in each record. So, for example, you have a list of people that got married in a certain year in a certain county or what have you. And so now the computer connects those people to the names that are in your family tree and says, hey, like this person and that person got married on this date, and now we just need you to confirm it. So basically all you're doing is indexing for your own family in a way. You're just going through and making sure that all the dates line up and all the names line up and whatnot. And then once you do a bunch of those names, then all of a sudden you tend to have lots of ordinances that are ready if you are a temple goer and you want to get all of your temple work done and whatnot. And so yeah, anyway, there's just lots of places that you can get started super easily, and then you just kind of progress from there. You just learn a little bit here and there. Good way to get started.
It sounds great. It sounds like it takes like a lot of the pressure off, because I feel like a lot of people have very similar stories where they're like just scared to even get started.
Right.
But this sounds like a great segue to just get it going.
Mm-hmm. I know one of my struggles too is like I'm terrified of messing it up, like messing up my family history. So to have that task and be like, hey, here is something I need you to review. Like the computer, I feel like could totally be like, oh yeah, there's enough matches, we can combine that. But to have a person look through things and maybe notice things that with handwriting that maybe, a computer can't really pick up, like cursive, I know can be really, really weird and really hard. But then have that human aspect in there to be like, you can actually review this task, get it figured out, and go. And it feels so much less stressful than just trying to look for it yourself and be like, am I taking this record from somebody else? Am I messing up the kingdom of God? Like, which again, that's impossible to do as well. Like, in the end, your efforts will be noticed by the Lord, and the Lord will work it out. It'll be okay if you are trying.
So I don't have to do anything.
That is not what I said. I said, if you are trying, put forth your effort.
Yeah. So you mentioned like linking Ancestry.com with Family Tree. Does Ancestry.com cost anything, or is like?
Yeah, good question. So for members of the church, it's free. Basically, the church just pays it for you. And so they just have a really close relationship with Ancestry.com and many other family history organizations and websites and what have you. So yeah, if you're a member of the church, you link your family history or your family search account to Ancestry.com. It straight up asks you when you create an account, are you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? You just check yes, you log in with your church account, and you got it there.
That's really
There
cool.
we go, some
Wow.
benefits.
Yeah, for sure. Take advantage.
Oh, yeah. And so we talked about getting started can be hard. Feeling overwhelmed can be hard. Is there anything else that you guys struggle with when it comes to family history?
I feel like for me, it's kind of what you said, just being afraid of messing it up. And like with indexing, it's like hard to read things. I really am just afraid of messing things up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just straight up don't really know how to do very much. So
Right.
yes,
That can be hard.
Lots of issues here.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely start with the tasks. Like, it's just, if you know how to use a smartphone, you know how to do the tasks. Like, I mean, you need to know how to read too. So
That helps.
I think I've taken enough classes with you. I think you know how to read.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
I think you got at least those two things down.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah.
but really, anybody can do it. It's a daunting task. It looks intimidating. You just got to do it. Like, it's not that hard, honestly. If you have a smartphone and can read, you got it.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like even though, like, so you brought up with Ancestry.com that you had 200-300 new names that came
At
in
least,
that you
probably
have.
more than that even.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Because I know something that I've heard other people struggle with as well is that they go on and there just hasn't been a very well kept record of their family. And so then they go on and they're like, I'm going to go do family history. And then it just stops. And that can be really a big struggle for some people. So I love that is something that they can do. I also have learned in my own line that even though sometimes things stop, it's still a lot of even fun to just learn about your ancestors, which is something that I feel like is very encouraged in the church. Like, know where you came from, understand, try to feel that connection with them, because in a sense, they can be like a part of you. So in one of my lines, it does just stop completely, kind of out of nowhere. But somebody found a biography that was just written personally for this person. It's not like published or anything like that. But the person who is the last person on our line where it just stops, that person's grandson had this biography that this another one of my distant relatives, I have no clue who they are, but thank you, found it, scanned it, and uploaded it into their thing. And so in their memories, I started reading it, and it was really, really cool to find it. Well, kind of fun, but also just really cool to figure out what happened. So it turns out that the person where it just stops was a stowaway on a ship, and so they left everything behind because they didn't want to get caught, or if they got caught, they didn't want to be sent back to wherever they were from because they were trying to escape and leave. And so even if it does stop, finding those things of, well, maybe why did this happen? Because then you can still at least feel more of a connection.
Yeah.
To your
That's cool.
ancestors.
I love what you said about how just how important those like connections are for us. Something that I recently learned in one of my psychology classes was that there's like two schools of thought. One is that we're individuals first, and then we have relationships. They're secondary. We just happen to have them. But another way of looking at it is that we don't have relationships, but we are relationships.
Ooh.
Like you're a daughter because you have parents, or like we are students because of the relationship we have with our culture and with education and the university. And so like I'm a wife that's only in the context of having a husband. Like everything we are is due to our relationships. So I think
like
that
that.
just, isn't that cool?
Yeah. So the flip side of that too, you're saying that you can go on and learn about all these relationships and learn about all these people. The other thing you can do is you can go in and put in all these memories of the people that you do know for future generations.
True.
And that's something that I think we shouldn't sleep on either. Like this is something that's really important. So one of our assignments in this class was to go through and type up, like a 400-word paper or whatever on certain relatives of ours and upload it into Family Search. And so I did one, for example, on my great-grandma who passed away when I was 14. And so I knew her like fairly well. And I kind of just got some stories from my mom and I think maybe one of my aunts as well. And some of my own stories from her. And I typed up this thing and uploaded it to her profile. And now my kids and, maybe my grandkids and whoever after me who didn't get the chance to know her will be able to go through and read this story. And you can also upload pictures and even audio recordings. So if the person is still alive, then you can, open your voice memo app on your phone and say, hey, grandma, tell me a story. And then, hand the phone to her and she'll tell you a story and you upload that. And so it's so cool that like future generations will know these people if we put the work in now.
Yeah, I love that. That reminds me, last November we celebrated Dia de los Muertos, and so I took photos from the Family Tree app that people have uploaded of my ancestors, and we were able to put them up on the wall and celebrate them. And another thing that's cool is I don't know if so there are like family history centers. And I know that the one in Idaho Falls, they have a room where you can record yourself being interviewed. They'll have questions that you can in different categories that you can select from, and they have like a camera set up and you can just answer questions about yourself so that your descendants can know a bit more about you. So I love that. I think it's important to leave things for those who will come after us.
That is super cool. I know that's something that my mom is doing. Is like when she loves pictures, like loves them. And so we have all these picture books that she's like made online and digitally. And I didn't know this, but I found out that she's uploading basically all of that to her own personal family history, so that when the day comes where she does pass away and then we have access to those memories, they will all be there for generations to come, which is super cool.
It's like social media for the dead.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
There you go.
Yeah, I feel like we have like a certain responsibility to pass this stuff on. Because Brogan, like you were saying, like you can like ask your grandma like, oh, tell me a story. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I'm sure these questions that they have are like very like thought provoking and like story reaching. So I think it'll be like super helpful and like even like if someone asks you a question, you may not even like remember certain things, but these interview questions might just spark these things, and you might share something people never knew, even your own kids.
That is so true. I never knew that my grandma kicked a kid in the knee in high school until I read through her memories.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so many fun stories that just get lost, you know?
Oh, yeah. And speaking of things that we can continue to do, we're going to start going to some of the more basic steps that you can do to get started. We've talked about some of them, Ancestry.com, going to the Family History Center. There is one here in Rexburg. It's by the Rexburg Tabernacle and the library. And most days, except for Sunday, of course, they open up at 9. They closed at different times each day. But there's also things like the Family Tree phone app. And on this app, there's a lot of things that you can do to just get started. So you can sign in with your church account, and it'll bring you to your family tree kind of right immediately. And look at that. There's a handy-dandy button right at the bottom, and it says Get Started, at least on mine, which I updated yesterday. So this may be a new update, which is great. Update your family tree app. So if I hit that little Get Started, I have 3 activities I can complete. So one of them will be a task, but it's nice. Sometimes going to the tasks, there's like 40 in a row, and I'm like, I don't know which one to do. So just hitting this Get Started, I have one that I can review. So much less overwhelming. And for this one, I have a record, a grave index that I can add to a person. So I can hit Review Record. I can see the things that are different. And sometimes it's interesting because, for example, the name is different here, but all we have right now is Henry C. But on the grave record, it's Henry Clay. So if I can be, that's a reasonable difference, I can still attach that. This grave record has more information than we do on this particular person. And at the bottom, it says it is connected to another person right now. So then I can review that person, see which one's closer, and attach it to the person I think is best. It will detach it from the other record, but again, something we've said, you can't mess up the kingdom of God.
It's true. And
it is okay.
The other thing you can do is if you think that's the same person, you can merge the person.
Yes.
So if somebody has already done, you said Henry is his name? If somebody's already done Henry's work, then you just merge the person and boom, that ancestor's work is already done in your tree as well because it's the same person.
Perfect. Yeah, that's something that sometimes it's connected to another person, but usually it is the same person because there's so many people doing all this work that you don't even know. So it's not like you can communicate with them and be like, oh, yes, I'm doing this for this person. Sometimes we make new people. Another thing that you can do on the little Get Started point is explore the world from your ancestors' point of view. So if you click on that, it'll take you to a map, which then you can see where all your ancestors are from that you have in family history. So I have a lot in the United States. I have a lot in the Netherlands, which makes sense. A couple in the Philippines due to my grandma's line. And then I also have one, which is kind of fun, just randomly. Hans is there on Hans Island, which is kind of fun.
That's
his island.
He's just floating out there by Greenland.
And yeah, real quick for those listening, it shows a map of the world with little dots that show where your ancestors are.
So I just pulled this up. I had no idea that existed. And so I served 14 months of my mission in and around Burley, Idaho. So that's kind of like my like home base for my mission, right? I just found out just at this moment that I have a couple relatives from Burley, Idaho. I had no idea. I lived there for a year and a bit and had no idea. So that's cool.
Welcome to the Idahoan line. Nice to have you.
Yeah.
I wonder if any of your relatives like from that line are still there.
That's a really good question.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. I know this line has some people in Washington, and we've visited them in Washington. I remember doing that as like an 8-year-old. But yeah, I wonder if they do.
I have some people
But
in
isn't that
Canada.
so-
There we go.
But isn't that so cool? Like, it's a simple just button click away, and all of a sudden we're not stressed about our family history, but we're just so fascinated by it. Yeah. It takes the stress away, where you can look, and now we're all just super curious on our phones looking at maps to see where we're from.
There's also the cool feature where you can see people around you, how closely like related you are.
Yeah, should we do
I
that?
think we should.
Let's go to that. Go to the relatives around me. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Yep.
Then you scan for the relatives.
scanning.
Jesse, we are related. 11th cousins.
Dang, really
I'm
close.
10th cousins to both of you.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm 10th cousins with Jesse and 9th cousins with Nix, and I'm 12th
Oh.
cousins with Brogan.
Wow.
I've got 10, 11, 12 right around the horn.
That is fun.
Yeah, and then if you like click on the person, it shows you where the relation comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm connected to Brogan through my mom's side. So
I now know all of your middle names too, so
Nice.
one step closer
Oh,
to
no.
identity fraud.
Please only use your powers for good. Oh, that is super cool.
it's really fun to see.
There was one time I was in I believe it was Relief Society, and we were doing a family history lesson, and we did this, and some people were like, wait, we are cousins. They were legit cousins, and they had no clue.
Like first cousins?
First cousins.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was fun because another person I was in the class with, they hit the scan for friends, and then if you click on the person, you see the actual genealogy line. And so another person with mine, she went, "You're from the Farnsworth line?" And I was like, "Yes, how'd you know that?" But it was really cool just to see that because I knew I was from Philo T. Farnsworth. That was the ancestor we were connected with. I knew that because he was a contributor in making the television, which is also fun things you can learn about ancestors. But yeah, super, super cool things you can do. And then another last thing that's on the Get Started button, just right at the beginning of Family Tree, is the location where then you can start making your memories,
Wow.
which is really cool. There's a lot more that you can do with Family Tree. If you hit the little menu, there is a drop down that has like tree, tasks, temples, search historical records. There's a lot that you can do. Something though that if you are feeling time pressure, because sometimes some of this does take a little bit of a time commitment. If you hit that temple button, you can see what ordinances are ready and click on ordinances ready and then select what you want to do. If you're heading to the temple and you're like, I don't have a family name, I'd love a family name, but I don't have time to sit down and manually look through things. This will go through your family line and find names for you to do for whatever ordinance you need, which is then really cool because then even if you're in a time crunch, you're super busy, you can still do your own personal family line and feel more of that connection.
You know something else that's cool with that, and maybe this is just the ultra competitive athlete in me, but it keeps a running total of the ordinances that you've completed, so you can kind of like track your progress over time. It's not to like compare it with anybody else or anything like that, but I like stats like that. I don't know. It's just maybe it's the athlete like I said in me, but I like the stats and yeah, I can kind of keep track of like I've done this many ordinances.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. And it looks like when you hit the ordinances ready button in that like temple section, you select which specific ordinance. So if you can only do baptisms, you just select baptisms and it shows you who's ready for baptisms.
Yeah, and it's super cool. Something to note with that, though, is that you can print these out at the temple if you need to. It will take a little bit. So if you have like an endowment reserved time spot, they do prefer that you print these off at home and then bring them. But if you don't have a printer and you really have no clue where to print them, you can print them at the temple. After you go to the reservation, not the reservation desk, when you get signed in, you can tell them, hey, I need to print off some ordinances. It will give you a QR code, which then they will scan and print off your ordinances for you.
And they're really nice about it. That's what I do every single time I go to the temple. And because I have a printer. It doesn't work very well. It's always low on ink, always out of paper, so like it's just a lot simpler. And it really takes maybe a minute for like you just go into the office, you scan it, they print it, they cut it out for you, and they hand them to you. And usually, plan for a minute of a detour right before you go and get changed. But it's just a really simple, easy way. They make it as easy as possible for you to do your own family history work rather than just taking a name from somebody else's family at the temple, which is also good, but it's less personable, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite things about family history is that sometimes I feel like a huge idiot when it comes to things, but whenever I ask for help, people are so non-judgmental 24/7. And so it's just, oh, you're trying to figure this out? Let me help you. People just love that you're trying to do that. And there's lots of help and support available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, this has been so helpful for me because when I go to the temple, I never bring my own names because I'm scared. I don't even know what to do. So now I feel like I can bring my own names now.
There you go. And
Almost
and
makes
as
it
you,
easier to go. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, as you start doing your own family names, then it like encourages you to go more. Because like in my reservation list right now, I have, let's see, I have 43 people reserved in my reservation list just from doing tasks. And then like when I see they need ordinances, I just add them to my reservation list. And then I feel pressured to go to the temple more because I have 43 people that I have reserved that need my help, right? And so and so as you start doing it, then it encourages you to do it more. And we all know what happens when you go to the temple more and when you do more family history work. It just makes your life better, right? So it's just, you can't lose. It's just good.
New hobby unlocked.
Oh, yeah.
You're definitely leading the Houston family, aren't you, in numbers?
Well, I'm the only one within about 5 hours of the temple, so I think I have to be.
Oh, there you go.
It's a responsibility at this
go.
point.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing is, we always talk about going to the temple for our own spirituality, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But really, we're doing it for our ancestors. They're waiting.
Yeah. Some of them waiting a long time.
Well, we also have a quiz.
Ooh.
All right. So our first question is, this is about ancestry. Who has the most well-documented family history? Now, here are the options. A, John F. Kennedy. B, Moses. C, Confucius. Or D, Gandhi.
Where do you even start with that question? Like, well, Moses is in the, the scriptures, so.
So I'm no Bible historian, but I'm gonna say Moses because at a lot of points in the Bible, it says like, and so begat so and he begat him, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if Moses is included in that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is. That's my guess.
That's true.
Same here. I'm going to guess Moses as well.
So you all
I
say
might
Moses.
I might go to a little different and say John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy,
No, yeah.
of course.
Well, because I feel like if you are in, he was a president, and so I feel like there's a lot of research done on people who
Yeah.
have that position.
And there are a lot of descendants.
Okay, so we've got one vote for John F. Kennedy and then 2 for Moses.
Yeah, how about you? Just kidding, you already know.
Sorry, guys. The answer is Confucius.
Who's that?
That's what I said about the
He's
Kennedy
a
guy.
Chinese philosopher, right? He started Confucianism. Forgive me, I'm not an
Okay.
expert.
No worries. Okay, I've only heard Confucius as like a verb.
Oh,
Look, no, you're thinking of
like
confusion.
confusion?
I am confusion.
Now it's a noun.
So this sounds like religion class, which is world religions.
Me too.
but
I'm in world religions right now too. Who's your teacher?
Brother Venema.
Oh, mine's Brother Woodward.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, we haven't gotten to the Confucianism part of it yet, but
I know.
we'll have to.
Like, give us a few weeks and then we'll be able to answer who Confucius
We'll
is.
be right back.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What is the most common country of ancestry of Americans? Now, it could be A, Germany, B, Ireland, C, the UK, or D, Italy.
Why do I think Ireland? I feel like I heard from somewhere or just something that there's just a huge.
Influx of people from there. I'm going to say, I'm probably going to say UK. Sounds so basic, but I'm going to say UK.
I think it's the UK as well because up until like a couple of years ago, Ireland was part of the UK. So I think a lot of people
Oh, there
can
you
trace
go.
that
Trick
to the same
question.
thing. I don't
Big
know.
brain time.
Well. Sorry,
Huh.
guys. The answer is Germany, with 41.6 million U.S. residents tracing their origins to Germany.
Wow.
Surprising.
They're lying. I'm just kidding.
Okay, last question. What is the most used website for genealogy work? A, Ancestry.com, B, Family Search, C, FindMyPast.com, or D, LegacyTree.com?
Ancestry.
Ancestry.
Yeah.
I
I think I answered that earlier. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Just came in here with that knowledge.
You got it!
Yay.
Yep, Ancestry has 25 million members.
Solid.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people doing some good work.
There's more members of that than there are of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in general. So that emphasizes my point from earlier about linking your Family Search account to your Ancestry.com account. because there's all these people, all these extra people that are doing family history work, and you can just take what they've done and put it into your tree now, and boom, you got it done.
Yeah, I think that's about 8 to 10 million more than there are members.
Something like that, yeah.
And of course, lots of those are members, but yeah, then there's at least that extra amount that are doing it.
I'm sold.
I'm going to do it tonight. Well, that's awesome. Well, this has been really, really cool. I've learned a lot, definitely.
Me too.
Learned about some good stuff, some good tips to get started. Family History Center, Ancestry.com, tasks, everything you can do. So I just have one last question for you guys. Do you have any new have you been inspired to make any goals?
Yes.
Now considering your family. Yes, awesome. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna do the temple tab thingy and see what ordinances are ready and go do them.
Nice. There you go. I think I said it earlier, but I'm gonna link my Ancestry.com and see what new names we can find.
I'm probably just gonna go in and start doing some of those tasks, because one of my biggest things, I always just say I don't have enough time, but the tasks is super quick. So whenever I have a couple of seconds, I'll probably just be okay, I'll just hop in, review this, and get it done. So at least doing something.
Yeah, just replace your Instagram scroll once a day with a family history scroll. There you go. I think my takeaway from this is I need to do more in the memories tab. I was talking about that, and I've done a little bit, but I definitely have so many photos that I could upload and stories that I can share. So I'll probably leave here and do that.
You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were me, Isabella Salazar,
Jesse Richens,
Brogan Houston,
and Nix Johnson.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by Jesse Richens. Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle and Natalia Hepworth. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website at byui.edu/radio and click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the BYU-Idaho Radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.